The middle class built the modern economy, but that system is starting to break. The end of middle-class jobs.
You know, for decades, if you asked what holds a modern economy together, the answer was pretty simple: the middle-class job. It wasn't just about a paycheck, it was the very bedrock of stability for millions. But that foundation, well, it's starting to show some really deep structural cracks. And today, we're going to dig into why. And that quote, it really hits the nail on the head. That ticket was more than just a job. It was a promise. It was like a social contract that said if you worked hard, probably in a decent white-collar job, you could build a secure, prosperous life. So we're going to explore why that ticket is expiring and what might be coming next. To really get a grip on where we're going, we first have to understand where we came from. So let's rewind a bit, back to the 20th century, and really look at the promise that built the modern middle class. Think about it. After World War II, the industrial economy created something totally new on a massive scale: stable, office-based jobs. This wasn't just work, it was a career. From the boom times in the 50s all the way through the 90s, the whole idea of climbing the corporate ladder wasn't just some dream. It was a very real, tangible path for a whole class of people. So what was this promise, really? Well, it was kind of like a package deal. You got a predictable career path, you had stable employment, often with just one company for years, and your standard of living just kept getting better. It meant you could actually own a home, you could support your family, and you could feel confident that your kids were going to have it even better. This whole package was the economic engine of the century. But then, something started to shift. The first major disruption began, and it didn't start in an office. It started out on the factory floor. We're talking about automation. And as you can see from the definition, this first wave was all about using machines to do the jobs that people used to do with their hands. We're talking about repetitive, physical tasks on assembly lines in manufacturing. It was a huge, powerful shift. So here's the crucial part. For a really long time, white-collar, middle-class workers saw this as something happening over there, in the world of factories and manufacturing. They thought their work, the work of their minds behind a desk, was totally safe, shielded from this kind of thing. But that assumption, it was about to be seriously challenged. And that brings us to the second wave, a force that is just profoundly different because it targets the very heart of what we think of as middle-class work. We're talking, of course, about artificial intelligence. And this right here, this is the critical distinction that changes absolutely everything. The first wave, automation, replaced routine manual tasks. It replaced our hands. This second wave, AI, is starting to replace routine cognitive tasks, our thinking, our analysis, our organization, even our communication. And look, this isn't some abstract, far-off idea. Take a look at these roles: accounting, admin support, customer service, data analysis. These are the absolute bedrock jobs of any modern office. For decades, these were the exact entry points to a stable, middle-class life. And now, AI can do many of the routine tasks in these jobs, not just faster, but sometimes even better. So you have to understand, this tech shift isn't just about changing a few jobs here and there. It's actually reshaping the entire structure of our economy. It's creating a new and really powerful divide. Which, of course, leads us to the big question. If that old, reliable ladder to prosperity is being taken apart, what's replacing it? What does the new economic landscape actually start to look like? Well, the structure that seems to be emerging is pretty stark. On one side, you have the people who own the technology, the AI systems, the automated platforms. They own the capital that is now doing the cognitive work. And on the other side, you have pretty much everyone else, all competing for a smaller and smaller pool of jobs that can't be automated. And if you look at the data, the trend is just undeniable. As the technology gets more and more capable, the money flows to the owners of that technology, not necessarily to the workers it replaces. So this isn't just about some people losing their jobs. It's a fundamental shift in who actually holds economic power. So you might be thinking, if this change is so massive, why isn't it on the front page every single day? Why doesn't it feel like one big cataclysmic event? Well, the answer is that this whole transformation is happening quietly, almost invisibly. It's not like a factory shutting its doors, which is this big, visible, dramatic event everyone can point to. No, the automation of office work happens inside spreadsheets, it happens with a software update, it happens through quiet little process optimizations. There's no single headline moment. The whole process just builds gradually, almost by stealth. It starts small, right? A single repetitive task gets automated. Then an entire workflow gets streamlined because of it. Pretty soon, a person's role has to be redefined. And eventually, a whole department gets downsized. Each step, on its own, seems like a logical, efficient business decision. But when you add them all up, the result is a quiet revolution in the workplace. So, what's the big takeaway here? This isn't just another dip in the job market. We are very likely watching a fundamental redefinition of the entire relationship between labor, capital, and what we even consider valuable in the global economy. The very idea of the middle-class job is being challenged right at its core. The system, the one that defined what a good life looked like for the last 70 years, it's changing. And the decline of the middle-class job, that's a huge signal of the shift. But believe me, it is only one. And if you want to understand how all these signals connect to see the larger picture of where we're headed, be sure to join us for the next episode. This is Black Signal. We're here to do structural power analysis in the AI economy.